Hi, I'm Todd GATHJE, Director of Government Relations here at the Family Foundation. And I want to take a few moments to tell you about a few things that we will be closely monitoring when the General Assembly returns to Richmond to convene for a special session on August 18. The purpose and intent of this special session is really to address economic recovery due to COVID-19 and to address criminal justice reform in response to what's happened around the country and in Virginia. But the General Assembly can take up a number of issues when they arrive here in Richmond. So here are 5 things that we are going to be paying attention to when they convene for this special session. 1, executive powers. The governor has issued a number of executive orders for several months now. And these executive orders have had an impact on the economy here in Virginia, individual liberties, and they've even invoked fear through threats of criminal charges. And he's been able to do this without any legislative oversight and approval. And so we feel that it's time that the lawmakers restore proper separation of powers between the legislative and executive branches of government. And already bills have been introduced that would limit the number of days that these executive orders can be in effect without General Assembly approval. So we will be monitoring these pieces of legislation and more during the session. 2, education, specifically K-12 education and school choice. This may be the biggest issue that's not included in the agenda for the upcoming special session. So many schools are going to be going back and they're going to look a lot different than they did last year. Some schools are going to be completely virtual. Others may be having a hybrid approach where the students will go in class for a few days and spend the remainder of the week doing virtual schooling. Other school divisions are giving parents a choice between having their child be in the classroom 5 days a week and doing virtual learning. So it's going to be interesting to see what resources that the General Assembly is not only going to provide to public schools, but also to these families who are making important decisions about the education of their children, whether they do in-classroom learning or virtual learning, whether they opt for private schooling or do homeschooling. So we will be monitoring this issue very closely during special session. 3, full legalization of marijuana. There are some lawmakers who want to use this special session to advance legislation that would fully legalize the recreational use of marijuana. In fact, Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoney is asking, has even petitioned the governor and the leaders in both the House and the Senate to introduce legislation that would legalize marijuana and regulate it. Of course, we know that the harms that this causes for our communities, families, and individual health. And we don't have to look any further than Colorado and California to know the damage that it can cause. Now, during the regular session in 2020, the General Assembly decriminalized marijuana, and they also reduced the penalties for simple possession. They also called for studies to be conducted by November. So it will be interesting to see if the General Assembly will pursue legislation this special session that advances the recreational use of marijuana. 4 is budgetary concerns. During the regular session, Senator Newman warned his colleagues and asked them to use caution in passing this 2-year budget in light of the threats and concerns associated with the coronavirus. And he proved to be correct on this. Revenues have been down, maybe not as bad as what originally projected, but the concerns are the revenue projections going forward and how that will impact spending priorities. And given some of the radical legislation that was passed during the session, the General Assembly is going to have a challenge in deciding on what gets prioritized in the budget when they reconvene on in the special session. 5, transparency concerns. The General Assembly session is going to take on a different feel this year. The Senate is going to convene in the Science Museum, and the House will meet in the Virginia Commonwealth University Siegel Center. And we have learned that there will be no public access to either of these places. Not even registered lobbyists will be there to be able to meet face-to-face with these legislators. So we have some real concerns about transparencies. And so you might say this is no big deal, that this is just the consequence of having a session off-site at various locations. But given the transparency and access concerns and issues we had during the regular 2020 session, and given all of the transparency issues we've realized lately with the Governor Northam administration, this is very serious, and it's something that we need to be watching as the General Assembly goes into the special session. So these are the 5 things that we're going to be paying attention to. There could be more, of course, and we're going to be watching that throughout. But I hope this video is helpful. Hopefully it gives you some insight into the things that we're going to be paying attention to. And be sure to go to our website, sign up for email alerts, go to our Facebook page, follow us there as we give you updates and developments. We want to keep you as informed as we possibly can.